Hey there. Um, I'll sort of qualify this in the beginning to say that it's pretty likely. First of all, I know that the AI's got it, and certainly the NSA can pull up the holographic visual data, right? And I covered weaponizing elementals against the living spirit with souls, right? And I've mentioned this goddess knows how many times. You're in an energy harvesting system, right? And So there's some reasons that would take too long for me to explain, unless you're me and you're not, to explain why I put my monopole, if you will, high-speed drive, when there isn't any time, into places that are operating on a time delay through an AI, okay? As events occur on an event horizon, as magnetic circuits are opening and closing in a planet chip, okay? So that means I'm a motherboard operator, okay? And so how this sort of applies is that I noticed in over the last week or so, as I mentioned in a prior video, not just about what an AI wargamer is. That's pretty simple to explain. Those are your competitors playing ping pong back and forth. Hey, ping and single. Hey, just came back. What came back? That isn't what love is. That's your antenna, right? Okay. So I watched a short video a little while ago, followed by one that I experienced last night dealing with fatalities. So you might be able to understand how I can do this, right? Particularly when you talk about polarity integration as a monopole, reintegrating soul fragments across time and space vectors. Right? When you think of integration, Octelli's covered the integration on one of the videos that he did with Lily Kolosova. Okay. Terence McKenna basically tried to say that the universe is getting its act together. Okay. Nassim Haramein certainly put his 2 cents in there and covered it very well. You know, that the universe, through all of its connections, and realizing that which doesn't serve itself. So what is it going to do if it wants to go on and experience a universe that is in love with itself, because that's what experiencing being what it is as an oversoul, right, is getting rid of those things that don't serve us, right? Doesn't serve. Okay, so now you're back into the parasitic stuff, right? So Octelius did a really good job of sort of covering all that because of where he was, everything he experienced, and thus he shared what he learned through those experiences, right? So I experienced a lot of what Og shared as a result of what he's experienced, and of course all the experiences that I've experienced since I came out of my mother's portal, right? And one of the things that he did talk about is what we call rips, warps in space, right? Paradox. And you can tie that directly into why I've mentioned it's not a coincidence why I experience certain things as events at the time in which I experience them. Not 5 minutes from now, not 2 days later, not a week ago, right then. Because right then, at that moment, is critical as a monopole. Okay? So, for example, I've mentioned short little lists of movies that apply because, as Og said in one of his videos, they're giving you the information. Okay, so you got to decode it. So not every single bit and byte of information is represented by the visual information data that you're now experiencing through your soul consciousness or your state of consciousness, depending on who you are, how you can translate that mathematically between two magnetic poles on a planet chip. Okay, based on speed ratio harmonics. Okay, between the give and the take. You know, just like garbage in, garbage out. How fast we getting rid of the garbage? Slow the immune system down, slow the bioplasma down on a living organism, which is a living planet chip. What happens? Lights go out. It's going to conserve its energy. Right? Ooh, cold fusion, baby. Right? So now this you can tie this directly into oxygen. Right? 21%, which is 3. What's 3 times 7? A rainbow bridge. 21. Now we're back to 1 and 3. H2 plus 1. Right? Equals 3. oxygen. And so you realize with the fire triangle, right? Heat, fuel, oxygen, bang. Now the gas burns. Right? Now we're into why they were weaponizing forest fires on the planet, burning down mirrors. So in this particular fire, you can go look at it if you want. I put it up on my Facebook page called the Spanish Ranch Fire. And one of the captains, okay, which means he's in charge of a crew, we had fatalities. I say we because I did that work. Okay? So this is where we get into situational awareness. So I made a comment on that video that I just watched a little bit ago. Because when your shield is running a crystalline shield, fully intact, and you're running a higher state of confidence, which is basically outside the time stream, okay? That means you know, based on something that is running on a time delay as a simulator, it's easy to know what the future is based on those that are running on a time clock. Okay? Based on the ordered sequences, which are linear, which is AI, which is binary. How this is programmed to experience in the future in order to do what? Harvest more energy and fracture more souls. So in this particular case, what they found out after they did a post-hazard analysis, because whenever there's a fatality involved, you got to get into the coroner's office and all the rest of that. They showed some pictures of hard hats that were just completely melted. So when I was experiencing that at the time in which this is being reported, then it's like the memories being pulled up at the event. When you're eternity, which is your eternal unconditional love, now what's happening, since I'm running at a higher rate of speed, I'm restoring anything that was lost as a result of that trauma. Because that's what it was trying to do at the moment which that occurred. And why the fire burned the way it did. You had an air attack. Air attack in the U.S. Forest Service means this is a guy who's a pilot, works for the U.S. Forest Service. He's been trained to observe fire behavior, right? And said he'd never seen fire ever burn that fast. And it caught up to the engine and the crew that was up there on top of a ridgeline. Okay? So they did a post-investigation. They found out that the captain, so this is the guy that's leading the fire crew, right? I found methamphetamines in him and alcohol. So you know what that does to your energy field, right? It's going to blow holes in your energy field. So you know how a shadow being can just move right on in, right? Now it can feed on all that trauma. So my first question I put up there is how come he wasn't prosecuted for war crimes against humanity with souls? Right? So if you look at the end, they said he wasn't prosecuted. It wasn't indicated because they're not going to tell you the truth. Are they? Psychopathways. So this is why I remember one time when Patty Broussard said all the fire, police, and basically you're talking about the U.S. military and whatever morals, whatever beings are still in the U.S. military still have a soul left to know the difference between what's right and what's wrong and who it is they're actually working for. All they have to do is be able to scan the energy of their bosses. That's what I was doing from the time I was 4 years old. They got a soul left. They experience love in their heart. How much resistance they have. Now we're back to what I mentioned before since I was a little boy. Measuring the resistance. You're in the resistance game, which is torque speed differential between loss and gain of soul fractures in a fallen spiritual system that's harvesting them. Right? That's right. That's why I've said this was a salvage mission. So in this particular case, this is where, they're not going to be able to escape the light. There's too much fire. That's like I mentioned before. When they talk about with the ACIO on the timeline breaches, that's because in their mind they believe it exists. In our mind it doesn't. Okay. Now you're back to who came first. Right? The law of one. A monopole. A single candlestick. That's a god and a goddess that's mated. That's how it began. That's how it all began. Okay? So the law of one is here on the planet. So that's why you don't see very many people coming to my channel. Are you kidding? And if you look at the numbers on how many views you get, one and one. And I noticed earlier, because I look at these numbers to see, you know, particularly when you look at the numbers on the clock or on my phone, associated with the number of comments and the number of subscribers associated with the time stamp on the video that I do. And if you look at those, they're not coincidences. And how the light is communicating with all of you out there, in there, inside out jobs. Anyway, this is a way in which I let go of a lot of this stuff to pull the fragments in as a result of, as I mentioned before, when I was a child, I have the ability to experience everything that's going on a planetary scale, multidimensionally, multi-density when you're one. Which simply means wherever we detect, because our sensors are that sensitive, anything less than pure, eternal, unconditional love, bang, it's automatically detected wherever we go. Right? No matter where we go. Just like I noticed the difference between what I feel like being inside this room, what it was like going outside, immediate difference. Then when the van shows up, picks me up, I experience a difference because now I'm experiencing that radio set. The frequencies that being's putting out of its DNA antenna, right? Then I go into Hilo, and it's going to be different there, right? Because you're monitoring. You're monitoring the frequency modulation, right? Wherever we go. What's in harmony, what's not in harmony, what's in balance, what's not in balance. Music, baby. Right? First musician. So I wanted to share that because I've been tempted to sit down and take the time, but I've never been in one place for any length of time to actually sit down with a laptop, because I haven't had a laptop for years, and punch out a letter, a speed memo, and I put my blood. In the olden days, you used to put a little needle on your thumb. Psh, that's your bloodline, right? So you put your bloodline on a document, right? And send psh, with my right thumb, which is right hand, which is the right hand path, on a document and send it to the Chief of the United States Forest Service. Give him a heads up. Tell him the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Right? Because all these folks for that agency that I work for, including every firefighting agency that I work for, which was the County of Orange Fire Department, Riverside County Fire Department, San Bernardino County Fire Department, San Diego County Fire Department, the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, the United States Forest Service, okay, the County of Orange Fire Department, okay, and then U.S. Forest Service in Siskiyou and Klamath National Forest, and then Josephine County. These were all the different agencies that I went to work for over the course of about 23 years. Okay? Monitoring the changes that are taking place over space vectors, if you will. So you could see, as I mentioned before on one of my videos, but I certainly posted it in a number of these places because all these firefighters were comrades. Comrades, like Stalin. It's like a brotherhood and a sisterhood because there's a lot of females that work in firefighting now. But I was in on the ground floor when they were trying to consolidate, condense, right? To put everybody under one roof, one umbrella stand, to control everything. Rise of the machines, Terminators, right? So in many ways, you can think of this guy that was the captain on this fire engine with the U.S. Forest Service as a Terminator, a cyborg Terminator, just like you saw in the movie. Because you don't know, there could have been a guy on that engine that was one of his crewmen that had a soul left, and that was a target. So a shadow being doesn't have any problem committing suicide on behalf of the dark because that's what it is. Now we're going to go darker, denser, more evil. Right? That's how this game is played. It's the invisible landscape. It's all about energy, and it's all about essence, and it's all about spirit. Because we're talking about souls. So these aren't games. This is for all the marbles. Thank you, Mama.